Hi, so this is my sample eye. I just want to teach you, or have another way actually to teach you how to isolate just a little bit more easier. So this is just kind of a better way for you to actually see up close exactly what it is I'm trying to let you know. So I also want us to remember that you should be going at no time 1 millimeter away from the person's skin. So we don't want to put the lash right to the skin. We want it about 1 millimeter away. Okay, just so if you put it too close to their skin, they're liable to have a really bad reaction. So adhesive can burn, but it can also cause a very bad allergic reaction. And not only that, it's sticking to the skin, so it's going to cause them to be itchy, and the lashes will actually hurt. So we're just going to pretend that this is our iPad and that we've put a nice map on there. So this being the inner eye, and us starting off at 7 millimeters in length, 8, 9, 10, 10, 11, 11, 12, 12, 13, 13, and then on our outer eye, we're always going to put about 2 or 3 smaller lashes, so a couple 8s and maybe 1 9. And the reason we do that is because it will then, those being so short, are quite sturdy. You can see this is very bouncy. This one not so much because it's short, it's sturdy. So if we put those there, the longer ones that we put on afterwards will stay up instead of drooping down and sticking to the side of their face, which we don't want. This lash map, actually the way that it's wrote means we're gonna, in this little area, do our 8 and 9s, and then here we're gonna do 13s, and here we're gonna rotate. So we'll do 1 13 and then a 12, a 13 and then a 12, a 13 and then a 12. Up here we'll do an 11 and then 12, 11 and then 12, and 11 and 12, and the same for all the way around. Another thing is, it is very, very, very important that you do one eye, and then do one lash on one eye and then do a lash on the other eye. So don't just do one eye at a time. The reason that we don't like to do that is if there's an emergency and the client has to leave, you don't want them leaving with one eye almost done and nothing on the other. Not only that, it gives the adhesive, the lashes that you've already put on, time enough to dry that they're not going to stick together and cause any kind of an issue. So if you're coming in and you're putting a lash on the outer side right here, put one on the outside here, go to the other eye and do the same, come back and put one in this section, go to the other eye, do the same, come back and do this one. This is called bones. So the black lines being our bones, and then we're just going to fill in the meat, and we'll do one section at a time. And the reason we do that is so that if your client has to get up, they have kind of lashes all over their eye, both eyes. And again, it's given us a lot of time for the adhesive to dry, so that we're not kind of pushing the lashes into extensions that you've put on, possibly moving them around and knocking them off, or whatever the case may be. It's just a much better idea to do both eyes and stay within those bones. So the next thing that I wanted to show you is that when I lash, everybody's different. I use curved and straight tweezers. And some people actually use the straight ones to isolate and the curved ones to place the lash. I don't do that because if I do that, I have to actually have my hand straight up like this. It's not very comfortable for me. Go down and find a lash and hold it. I gotta try and look over this tweezer to place my lash. So I much rather be able to relax my arm, have a tweezer that goes over the eyeball so I can relax my arm, find an eyelash, isolate it so that there's just the one, which is right here, you can hardly see, and then I can come in on an angle and then place my lash. So let me just bring this a little closer, and you a little closer, and it'll be a lot easier for me to show you. So if I'm trying to separate a lash, most of the time you can start from the very outer lash. They're very small, to be honest. But if you were starting anywhere in here, I generally pick an area and look for the lash that is going to give me the least amount of trouble to isolate. So I don't have to go by and stop and start here. I can pick a lash anywhere in that area, the one that's going to cause me the less grief. And what I do is try and keep my tweezers as close to the skin, not touching, but as close as I can, because that way I can keep my pinchers kind of small. Get one lash and then just let the tweezers open in there. I've let it isolate itself pretty much. Another thing that I do, if that's not going to work for me, is I stick my whole tweezer down and I just push everything aside and I wait for the smallest one to flop through, which would be that one. And then I just go like that and place a lash. I know a lot of people kind of go through with both of their tweezers, try and find one. Another reason that I highly suggest using the curved ones is because when you're going close to their face, or to their eyes, sorry, and you separate them, your hand is resting on their forehead, and if you just let your tweezers relax nicely but still holding it, then you have time to go and grab your lash, okay, and then dip it in adhesive and then come back to the eye without moving this hand, because this is the problem that most people have. As soon as they go to grab an extension, they're not looking at this hand anymore and they lose that lash. So that is the big frustration of lashing. So another thing I would like to show you is how to place the lash. So if I'm pretending that this green one is my lash, what I would do is I would come in and I would place it on top of the lash. So let me move this a bit. Oops. See if I can get a better angle here. So I would come on in 1 millimeter away from the eye and lay the lash on top, or I could put it beside, or I could put it underneath. So let me try and show you that in an easier way. So if I'm coming in, I can put the lash on top, 1 millimeter away, beside the lash, 1 millimeter away, or underneath. So what's going to make me decide that is what is better for it to be placed where everything isn't going to be touching it afterwards. So generally, if somebody has very thin, very sparse lashes, I tend to put them on the side, because that way it kind of makes them fuller, doubles up side by side. Sometimes the lash is a little bit crooked and I like to put it on the bottom. Other times it's just a perfect landing for the top. Most of the time when you get a lash extension, depending on where you're buying them, they'll have the curve, but they'll also have like a mini flat part right here, just kind of perfect to sit right on top of the lash, beside, or even underneath. Okay. I also wanted to show you that some people have, take this out so I can show you. Some people have what we read in our books. They have sleep lashes, and those lashes curve in a really awkward way. So they might be like this. They could be all squiggly, leaning over, and it's because of the way the person sleeps. And if it's not because of that, it generally is because they're very fine. The person is a lot older, but generally the lashes are very curved inwards. If they sleep on a certain side of the face, you'll find that that is what's happening. So in that case, what I do is take the lash and I find two parts. So I want it to stick to here and I want it to stick to here. So going underneath gets me a millimeter away from the bottom, and it gets me to stick on top here as well. I could also lay it on top. So it just depends. If the person's eyelash is lower touching the pad, then I'm going to put it on top. If it's curled up to their eye, which happens quite a bit, then I'm going to put it on the bottom. And the reason is because if I put it on the top, it's just going to get curlier and curl right into their eye. And I don't want that, so I'm going to put it on the bottom. You can put it one on the bottom and one on the top, both on the bottom, both on the top. It's up to you. But what is really important is when lashing, that when you put your extensions on, this tip should be always at the center of this eye. So if we are, pretend we have a little dot here on the top of the person's eye, we want to make sure that this curl is pointing here all the way around. But we don't want them sideways. See, it's kind of leaning over. We want it straight up. So kind of a 90-degree to the eye. So you want this whole entire lash a 90-degree right to this, all the way around. I hope this helps you to understand how to put on sleep lashes, the curved ones, how to isolate. Another good thing is using your lash wand and brushing all your lashes, and then putting your lash wand underneath and waiting for the smaller ones to fall, because they will, you see? Then you can just leave your lash wand there, holding them up, grab a lash, and put it on the ones that are underneath. Okay, and then I would just hold your lash wand there for a little while, for at least about the count of 6, and then let the top ones fall. But that's just another way to ensure that you're getting every single lash, because like this sample eyeball, we have many rows. Okay, so we might have a row here, and then a second row and a third, or we might just have 2, but everybody has more than just one row of lashes, which you'll see when you put your magnifying glass on. And we just want to make sure that we're getting all of them. So pushing your lash brush up and waiting for one, see them fall, waiting for them to fall. After you've lashed, we'll just let you see if you've gotten all of them, even underneath. Okay, and then after that, we would give them a nice brush, and then mist them with our mister, and then give them a nice fan, and then we would go ahead and peel off the lash pad. And then of course making sure before they open their eye, just lifting everything up with your tweezer or your lash comb or your mirror, and making sure that their eye right here, there is no hair, no lash that's going under, because if that's the case, then it's stuck to a bottom lash, and we're going to have to make sure that we unstick them.